What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to break down the trades from this morning. As you may recall, if you watched yesterday's recap, yesterday I came in and was swinging hard on the first trade that I took, and I ended up losing $10,000, it was actually $11,000 on the first trade in the first 5 minutes of sitting down. Not a good way to start the morning. I spent the rest of the morning slowly digging my way out of the hole to finish the day in the green by $2,200, something like that. So yesterday was a small green day. So I said, I'm gonna learn from yesterday's mistake, and I'm gonna come in today trading a little bit more conservatively on those first couple trades. Smaller size, bring it down a little bit. And look, if I could build a cushion, by all means, I'm happy to size up. So what ended up happening today was, because I came in with this intention to be more patient, to be calmer, and to be a bit more disciplined than I was yesterday, I was being very particular about what I was willing to trade. And I was asking myself, how closely do the stocks I'm looking at right now match the profile of the type of stocks I've done really well on over the last week? So let's go ahead and look at the screen share and go over the leading percentage gainers. This morning, I was not pleased to see the leading percentage gainers were all stocks that kind of weren't right for me. The leading gainer in the entire market right now is up 200%. It's got 78 million share float. That float is too high. It's not going to be an easy stock to day trade. CMRX. Yes, it's had some volatility, but the thing is, most of the move started yesterday after hours. That was the cleanest part of the move right there. And then the rest of it, kind of choppy pre-market. It did squeeze up a bit at 7, 8 a.m., pulled back a little bit. It did grind higher, but just not easy to trade. So I didn't get anything on that one. Next one down, QURE, 46 million share float. It's going higher, it's easy to borrow, and it's a bit more of a grinder. Yes, it did have a nice squeeze right here from $7 up to $15 a share. That was impressive. The problem was, had big spreads the whole time. It had big spreads. It being easy to borrow, I just couldn't trust it. So topping tails up here, topping tails up here. It kept going higher, but I didn't trade that one. I disregarded it because of the float at first, and then the spreads and the price were just not quite right. Next one down, CPIX. Well, CPIX, similarly to CMRX, moved after hours, pre-market grinding higher, but I felt like I missed the move. So here's the problem. I'm sitting down, and the top 3 leading percentage gainers, I don't like them. So what am I going to do? I got to be patient. I got to wait for one that looks good. And I ended up finding it. I'm up $13,000 today. That's twice the daily goal. It's a much better day than yesterday, and it's thanks to being patient. The first stock I traded was TRNR. Let's look at the P&L today. So I'm up $617 on TRNR. This is a stock that is not a biotech stock, which has been sort of the sector where I've done really well lately. So I was a little bit cautious on it, but let's actually jump onto the 10-second chart. If we look at the 10-second chart, you'll be able to see where I took my entry a little bit more clearly. So this pops up right in here, and I took my first trade. It was right here. So it ends up squeezing up here, pulling back, pushing higher, pulling back, popping up, pulling back, pushing up to here, and then I bought that dip right there at about 450. Ends up going up to 485, made 600 bucks on it. It's nothing big, but it broke the ice and put me in the green. So I was like, all right, look, can't complain about that. That's nice. And then PBM is the next stock that came up. Now PBM, I'm up $12,647 on. It is a biomedical company. They did have news out this morning. And when we look at the chart, it doesn't look so great, right? You get a move from $2 to $4.50 and then all the way back down to $2. So it's a little disappointing that it didn't hold up very well. However, we had volatility, and that was enough to give some opportunity for profit. If we look back at this stock, we can see that it has a history of making these kinds of moves where it pops up and sells off. So when it first started popping up, initially I was thinking, I'm not sure if I can trust it. It's, I just don't know if it's going to work. However, it pops up here to a high of 280. It pulls back, and then when it rallies back up right here, I bought that micro pullback right there. You see that micro pullback? That is one of my favorite ways to buy a strong stock. In fact, I like it so much, I've created the micro pullback strategy PDF. I encourage you guys to download it. I will pin a link to it in the comments. You can download it. You get instant access, micro pullback strategy PDF. It will walk you through the nuances of this setup. I trade it all the time, and I broke the ice here with my first trade on PBM on that micro pullback. So I was getting in right under 3. It breaks 3, goes up to 320. Micro pullback right there, pops up a little higher, dips down, support at VWAP, grinds higher, and then up here squeezes up to 350, pulls back, then pulls away up to 380 and dips back, goes all the way up to 460, pulls back, and I actually took my biggest position of the day right here for the squeeze through the new high. Unfortunately, it rejected, but I'll show you why I took that trade. If we look at this on the 1-minute chart here, where I sized up was a 1-minute pullback. So we had first pullback, second pullback, and I traded both of those first and second 1-minute pullbacks. And then this one right here I took as well. Because I now had a cushion on the day, I was like, all right, I'm gonna step up to the plate on this. So I did the dip. It bounces off of 4 down here, and then it starts to squeeze up. And as it started to squeeze up, I added pretty low. I think it was 408 or 409 with a stop at 4. So I'm risking about 8 cents per share on this trade here. It ends up going over 420, 430, 440. I'm adding to the position. Now I've got full size position averaged in at about 425. It hits a high of 450. I'm up 25 cents a share, and I'm looking for the squeeze through 460 and a move up towards 5. Sadly, it couldn't do it. It flushes down. I stopped out, basically break even for a small, maybe it was a small profit. It was out at like 35, 30. But I was kind of bummed out because I really thought that was going to go. So anyways, it didn't. It is what it is. But then after that, so that was at 7:40 a.m. So 7:40 a.m., I'm up 13,000 on the day. And I'm thinking, all right, well, what's next? And as I sat here, I waited 8 a.m., top of the hour, got nothing. 8:30, bottom of the hour, we got nothing. 9 a.m., top of the hour, nothing. So my last trade was actually at 7:43 a.m., which means I traded today for about, actually, I didn't realize this until just looking at it now. Today, I traded, first trade was at 7:29, last trade, 7:43, 14 minutes. I only traded for 14 minutes today. That's kind of embarrassing because I sat here for like 3.5 hours. In fact, it's like 1 o'clock. I'm still here, so it's actually even longer. It's 6 hours. Well, I guess it's okay that I've been sitting here for 6 hours because this is kind of the thing, if you think about it, a lot of trading is waiting. You've got to be very patient. You've got to be disciplined. You're waiting, you're waiting, you're waiting. You're waiting for that setup that you like. And then when it appears, boom, you strike. And it just so happened that it was kind of towards the beginning of the morning, which is fine. You know, I sat down at like 6:45. So I had to sit for 45 minutes. And then we got that setup, got 2 trades, TRNR, and then PBM back to back within like 14 minutes. And then that was it. All of a sudden, the day slowed down. Now, I know other traders kept trading, and there were other things that moved a little bit. I just didn't see anything that I felt, I don't know, I didn't feel like I could get really dialed in on anything. GTX, what was it? And GXAI, I think this one popped up later this morning. That was a nice move. You know, that was a nice one. So from 4 to 7, that was clean. QURE, that one's going higher as well. So, you know, there was some stuff moving, but one of the things I try to remind people is that it's not about overtrading. It's about finding a couple of nice low risk trades each day where you can get in, get out, and book your profit. Now, I say low risk, but of course, we all know that trading is risky. And I think you know this. My results are not typical. But I like to think that trading, like anything else, the risk is on a spectrum. You can choose to trade in a way that takes a tremendous amount of risk, or you could choose in a way that's a bit more moderate. And the way I approach things today, I brought it down a little bit after the close call yesterday. Now, had I finished yesterday down 13,000, today would have just been, well, getting me back to break even. So it's nice I was able to recover yesterday's, I guess all of yesterday's loss. I only was up a couple $1,000. But in any case, it was nice that I was able to avoid booking a big red day so that when we got some good opportunities this morning, it was able just to add profit and not be, you know, digging me out of the hole. That's one of the things that's really tough. And a lot of traders deal with this is when the market's hot, you know, you'll be producing some really nice profit. Back-to-back big green days, you know, you're on a real hot streak, you're crushing it. And then all of a sudden it cools off. And like that, you take a huge loss. It's an outsized loss and you're like, oh boy, here we go. All right, so now I'm down $10,000. And well, you took a loss because you're aggressive, and I get it. I'm aggressive too at times, but then there's nothing else to trade. And so you can't really even make a dent at recouping the loss. You just have to sit with it. And then the next day you come in and you do one of two things. Either number one, you recognize I better be careful because the market's already giving me the hint to slow down, or you get stubborn and you say, no, I'm going with big size anyways. I don't care. Just get stubborn. And then you have a second big red day in a row. So yesterday ends up being one of the smallest green days I've had in a couple of weeks. But at the same time, it was a little bit of profit. Yes, kind of, the account had a nice stretch there. Now it's going sideways, but then a teeny bit of profit today, 13,000. All right. So if I can just kind of keep grinding away, even if it's on smaller numbers, I'm okay with that. If we look at my P&L over the last 90 days, this was a stretch where I was making profit. It's just a little slower. And then boom, big green day, and the market picks up, some speed. Another big green day. So in fact, I've got 3 days here that are each 6-figure days, over $100,000. And that's just in the last, since October. I would love to have a couple more of those this year. That if I have a couple more of them this year, it would certainly be impressive. So year to date right now, I sit at, let's see, $1.7 million. Last year was 300,000. So this also goes to show sort of the how dramatically the market has shifted from last year. Last year was a slow year for me. It really was. We'll do overview and month P&L. So this was last year, $389,000, whatever. It was a slow year, and I showed up every single day, but I just didn't get a lot for it. I wasn't able to trade as much. The market was slower. It was colder. And I mentioned this in one of my other recaps, but I'll say it again now. One of the things that's kind of interesting is that when the market is cold, some people are like, Ross, are you just trading with bigger size right now? Is that why you're making more money? Why didn't you just trade with big size last year? Why'd you size down? And I had to size down because when the market is colder, there's less people interested in trading and the volume goes down across the board. Less liquidity means you can't get in and out of the market with big share size. And then when the market's really hot, there's a lot more exuberance, there's a lot more volume, there's a lot more liquidity. And now you can get in and out with 15, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 shares. And so when it's cold, not only is the quantity of good setups fewer, but you can't take them with as much size. And when the market's hot, you've got more setups and you can take it with more size. So it exaggerates the ups, but also the downs. And that's what's really tricky when you take a big loss and then it goes into a slow period. And now, even if you wanted to take big size to try to recoup the losses, you're not, you could, and you're not going to be pleased with the result. So sitting right now, 1.7 million on the year. And, I don't know where I'll close this year. We've got 20 days, 20 days, but in terms of actual trading days, we really only have about 15, it looks like 15 or so trading days left in the year. And of course, we've got the Christmas holiday. So look, we could have another big, crazy momentum stock that goes from $5 to $25 in one day, and I could make 100 grand on it. We could have 3 stocks like that. Or, it could be a slow finish to the year. I don't know what's in store, but what I do know is that I'm going to show up every single day like I always do. And if I see setups that are strong and I'm able to first build a cushion on the stock and get myself in the driver's seat, I'm going to step up to the plate. I'm going to be aggressive and I'm going to try to strike while the iron's hot. Because right now, the market, we're in a cycle, a hot cycle. And yeah, there's some days within a hot cycle that are a little colder and other days that are hotter. But overall, the market's giving some really nice opportunities. And I think it's time for me to be aggressive. So thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, make sure so 2 things. Number 1, link to download my micro pullback strategy, pinned at the top of the comments and in the description. Also, there's a link where you guys can do a 2-week trial at Warrior Trading, so you can watch over my shoulder for the next 2 weeks. And number 3, I want to remind you, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical. So please manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you guys back here. I'll be live streaming tomorrow morning for members at Warrior Trading. All right, I'll see you guys in the morning.